Hello, everybody. Welcome to another SportzMoose Media podcast. Ricky Dean along with Rick Burkett as we talk about high school football in our area, in the southwest Alabama area, regions from 7A all the way down to 1A. We're even going to touch on some AISA football tonight as the seasons are now drawing near. The regions are working themselves out as far as playoff positions and everything, so it's been exciting all year anyway, but it's really getting to be exciting now as these schools are vying for playoff spots, and they're coming. And so we're going to touch on and talk about those tonight as we kind of work our way, as we always do, through Monroe and then Escambia County, Alabama, and then we'll touch on the southwest Alabama regions of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We'll also touch on some things going on in AISA football. Want to welcome my partner, Rick Burkett, as Rick joins me on the phone tonight. Rick, hopefully you've had a good weekend. Of course, you and I had an exciting game to watch and be a part of the other night, and it looks like there's some more coming, some big games right around the corner as we work through and finish up this high school football season.
That's right. We did have a good time Friday night. That was, regardless of the score, that was a very, very good football game between W.S. Neal and the Flomaton Hurricanes, and I hope you, too, had a good weekend. Everybody else listening, I've had a great weekend. Got up, went to church on this beautiful fall morning, and had the blessing in church, of course. This is the day the Lord has made. We will be glad and rejoice in it. I love all the seasons, but I don't know why. I mean, you talked about that before, but I really like fall. And then when you get those first cool fronts come through, I really like it. So doing well, and I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite mornings to wake up on is that morning when it's really cool, like it's going to be in the morning, kind of in the mid-40s, and you walk outside and just kind of shiver just a little bit and go, I better walk back in and get me a sleeve. And so that's what it's going to be like in the morning. Let's talk about some football games, as we always do, and, of course, we're going to touch on 1A Region 1, the J.F. Shields Panthers. J.F. Shields has had a tough season, and they lost another one. Of course, they got beat by a very good football team. We talked about this game last week. J.F. Shields 0-7 on the year, 0-4 in 1A Region 1. They were eliminated from the playoffs as they lost to Milry by a score of 67-0. We talked about Milry being undefeated, or actually they have lost one game, but Milry, Milry's played some very tough competition, and they've only lost the one game. They played Centronale and beat them the first game of the year. But J.F. Shields struggled. J.F. Shields has got another big game this week. They will be playing Southern Choctaw at home. Southern Choctaw 2-5, 1-3 in the region. Southern Choctaw last lost to Leroy by a score of 41-8 last week. They are mathematically still in the playoffs, but they've got another region game or so to play that will decide that fourth and final place for them. But this is going to be another one that's going to be tough for J.F. Shields on Friday night.
Yeah, that's a tough one for J.F. Shields. We wish them the best, but like we said about some of the other teams, don't let Southern Choctaw's record fool you either. They've got a pretty good football team, so I'm in agreement with you.
Monroe County over in Monroeville. Of course, Monroe County High, my buddy that I get to umpire with some during high school softball season in the spring, Coach Shannon Felder. The Tigers are 1-6. They're 0-5 in Class 3A Region 1. They lost to Hillcrest Evergreen. Now, you and I have seen Hillcrest Evergreen several times already this year. And, we've always talked about how, they're kind of a sleeper. Well, they haven't done very well on their season, but boy, did they hand it to Monroe County the other night. Hillcrest Evergreen beat Monroe County 62-14. and that eliminated Monroe County from the playoffs. Monroe County will next play Cottage Hill in Monroeville. Cottage Hill, of course, is 0-7, 0-5 in the region. They lost to Mobile Christian the other night by a score of 34-0. Cottage Hill has also been eliminated from the playoffs. So these two teams in Class 3A Region 1, they're just playing each other for pride on Friday night.
And there is a lot of pride in this one. And you and I can't say we knew it was going to happen. But, consider this. Hillcrest Evergreen took T.R. Miller into overtime. It took overtime for T.R. Miller to beat Evergreen. And then they played, our good W.S. Neal team tough. Evergreen just had probably, or at least in the top 5 of the hardest schedules I've seen in high school football. So we knew that record wasn't, and it wasn't indicative of how that good they were. And we met their offensive coordinator, talked to him for a long time one night, and they're just a good football team, and we knew it, and they showed it. And Cottage Hill has also played a killer schedule. They're 0-7, but they played a very good WSNL team that we cover very well. And so I'd have to probably give the nod to Cottage Hill on this one, but you never can tell. Monroe County's playing at home, and so we'll just have to see.
Looking at the AISA now in Region 3A or Class 3A, they only have one region. Monroe Academy will be at Autauga Academy up in Prattville. Monroe Academy at 3-6, 2-4 in the region. They beat Morgan Academy this past week by a score of 33-16. Of course, Autauga Academy, they're good. They're not normal Autauga Academy good, but they've got a record of 5-3. They're 3-3 in their region. They lost to Glenwood the other night, which everybody has, 42-7. But one thing that we wanted to point out is that Monroe Academy will be in the playoffs because all 3A teams in the AISA, there's 8 of them, so they will all make the playoffs, and then they just seed them, and they play 3 rounds and get to a championship game. So Monroe Academy will be a playoff team. It just matters where they're going to fall within those standings as to who they will play during that first round.
That's right, and good luck to Coach Felder this Friday night and against Autauga. I think they're pretty evenly matched. Monroe Academy also has played a very tough schedule and played very well at times. So, I'd probably give the nod to Monroe Academy on this one. Good luck to them.
Class 3A Region 1 back in our region that we're most familiar with, of course, Excel at 3-4, 2-3 in the region. They lost to Thomasville this past week by a score of 35-7. I watched the video on that game, Rick. That game was very close, even up until the half, because in that game, Excel actually scored first. They scored their 7 points with a pick six. They got a pick six on defense and took it into the end zone. That was but then Thomasville comes back and scores 35 unanswered. Excel will be at Hillcrest they will be playing in Excel, but they will be playing Hillcrest Evergreen. Hillcrest, of course, we've already mentioned them. They're 1-6 on the year, 1-4 in the region. They beat, as we said, Monroe County the other night, 62-14. So more than likely, the way things will work out is, I tell you, just saying what we've said about and what we know about Hillcrest Evergreen, Excel can't sleep on them because obviously by putting up 62 points, you're playing 12-minute quarters in a high school football game to score 62 points. You're running up and down the field with the football.
That's right, and we've seen it too. Evergreen's got a good defense, so I think thinking through the records out on this one and just say this is a pretty even matchup. Best of luck to Excel.
Yeah, what will give Excel the upper hand is the fact that it will be played in Excel, so they'll be glad to stay at home and not have to travel and go over to Evergreen for this ball game. J.U. Blackshear started the year 3-0. They've lost 5 in a row. J.U. Blacksher got beat by Clark County the other night. They're now 3-5, 1-3 in the region. They're off this week, so they will next play not this Friday night, but next Friday night. Now this is a big game for them. J.U. Blacksher, even at 3-5 and 1-3 right now, if they can pick up a win against Washington County on the 27th of October, then that will decide the 4th region spot for Class 2A Region 1. So J.U. Blacksher could slide into that playoff spot and get a chance to go play a little playoff football, even though it will be on the road as the number 4 seed.
Yeah, and we knew Clark County was good too, kind of like Evergreen. Maybe not as hard a schedule as Evergreen, but pretty close. And we knew Clark County and Grove Hill was a good football team, so I'm sure they'll appreciate this weekend off.
Going back into the AISA as we look down into Escambia County, Alabama. Class 2A Region 2 in the AISA, Escambia Academy, they're 3-5. They're 1-3 in their region. They will play South Choctaw Academy this week. They will play South Choctaw at home. The other night, the Cougars lost to Patrician Academy by a score of 42-14. You know, EA is going to be, it looks like that they are going to be a playoff team. They're kind of locked into that number 4 spot. It's just going to matter who they play next, so or who they play the first round of the playoffs. That's still to be determined. But South Choctaw Academy, they won their game this past Friday night as they beat the Warriors from Sparta Academy by a score of 50-0. So it'll be Escambia Academy and South Choctaw Academy in Canoe this Friday night.
Yeah, and best of luck to Escambia Academy Cougars. We'll be pulling for them. South Choctaw, they can have. I mean, they beat Sparta 50-0. This is a team to look out for. I think I've kind of got a feeling the EA may come away with a win on this one. Hope they do, and we'll be pulling for them. And congratulations on them and to them in making the playoff. And just good luck to them. We'll be pulling for them.
Talking about our old school now, the Blue Devils of Escambia County High School, they're 5-3, 2-3 in the region. They lost to T.R. Miller this past Friday night, 42-7, a very good T.R. Miller football team. That was a region game for the Blue Devils in Class 4A Region 1. They will be at Bayside Academy, so they've got to make the trip to Daphne. I tell you, Bayside's a good football team, 5-2 on the year, 3-2 in the region. They beat Orange Beach the other night, 35-14. But this is going to be kind of a must-win game for the Blue Devils as they've got to knock off Bayside Academy, and they could be looking at possibly making it to the playoffs with a win there. But I tell you, they've got a tough road to hoe. As their remaining games that are region games are not easy football games.
Well, that one, it didn't surprise me that T.R. Miller won. It kind of surprised me a little bit, the score. T.R. Miller's gotten better each game. Each game they've gotten better and better. And, as a coach, that's what you try to get your team to do. You hear Coach Saban and the better coaches say it all the time. It doesn't matter. That's behind us. We're trying to get better each week and each day. Each day adds up to week. Weeks add up to months. And you've got to get better each day and then each game throughout the season. And when you look at T.R. Miller's record, they've done that. And, and then they've got, Alabama signed that great linebacker they got, Miles Johnson. He is committed to Alabama. They haven't signed him. He's committed to Alabama. They've just gotten better defensively all year long. They only had the one loss to UMS Wright, and then they took it on the chin from. Let me see. They lost another game by decent. They lost to Jackson, 38-7. Everybody's lost to Jackson so far this season, but T.R. Miller's just a good team, and Atmore's got to get ready. I think they are very evenly matched with Bayside. Bayside and St. Michael's had to go to overtime in their game. Bayside came out on top, I believe. Atmore played St. Michael's very tough. It was a very close game. So I think this is an even match. And if Atmore can pull it off, they can get into the playoffs. And of course, we'll be rooting for them. Not that we have anything against Bayside, but we're pulling for our alma mater. And I think they got a good chance. Coach Vincent Harris has done an outstanding job with that team and that school. And we wish them the best. Go Blue Devils.
As we continue in Escambia County, Alabama, of course, a team that we just saw this past Friday night, a very good Flomaton football team. Flomaton with a record now of 4-3, 3-2 in Class 3A Region 1. They lost to WS Neal the other night. Neal played very well in the ball game and was just a little too much for the Flomaton Hurricanes as Flomaton came up on the short end of the stick, 44-21. But I tell you, it doesn't get any easier for Flomaton. They'll be at home Friday night, which is about the only good thing we can say. They're at home and they take on Mobile Christian. Mobile Christian is 8-0, 5-0 in the region. They beat Cottage Hill the other night by a score of 34-0. And just to put it out there, we've said it, we've been saying it ever since the W.S. Neal Blue Eagles played Mobile Christian in East Bruton back at the earlier time during the season when they played each other. Mobile Christian, just to put it in a way that the kids will understand it, Mobile Christian ain't no joke.
No, I mean they really aren't. They could beat plenty of 7A teams, and they're that good. Not a lot of players. I don't know how many we counted that day. 35, maybe. I don't even think it was 35. So they kind of get to hunt and choose and find who they want coming out of those youth leagues. And Mobile Christian's very good, but that kind of offense Fulton runs. I mean, we'll see, but it'll be a tough. We say that all the time, but it'll be a tough row to hoe. If anybody knows what that means, it's never worked in hoed a garden. That's a tough row to hoe. That's just a tough one. A lot of weeds in that one. So good luck to them, though.
No doubt. 4A Region 1 T.R. Miller Tigers, we talked about them earlier because they were the opponent of Escambia County High School this past week. They beat ECHS by a score of 42-7 in a region game. T.R. Miller has another region game. Of course, T.R. Miller is 5-2 in the region, 5-2 on the year, 4-1 in the region. They will next play Satsuma. Satsuma is 4-3 in 4A Region 1. They're 4-3 on the year, 2-3 on the region. They lost to Jackson this past week by a score of 49-6. So it'll be T.R. Miller at home against Satsuma at Bruton Municipal Stadium, and so that's one that T.R. Miller should be able to win, and they'll end up coming out of this one more than likely with a record of 6-2, and will be 5-1 in the region. It just doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to knock off Jackson, so T.R. Miller will more than likely be the second place team in 4A Region 1 as far as seeding when it gets to be playoff time.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Ricky. I mean, they trounced Atmore. They're going to beat Satsuma, I believe. Satsuma is a lot like Atmore, much improved team over years past, but I think Miller can win. And then the last big hurdle for Miller to host their playoff game, finish number 2 in the region, is St. Michael. Now, St. Michael's got a good football team, as you and I both know. But even then, based on what I've seen so far, I think Miller's next big game is probably going to be the Battle of Murder Creek at the end of the season. So when they play a very good WS Neal team, but good luck to them.
Well, and going that game, the Battle of Murder Creek game, that is going to be the final game of the season between Neal and Miller. That's going to be a big ball game just because it's a pride thing, and you've got schools that are separated by nothing but a creek. But no
region implications.
Right, no region implications or anything like that. Both teams are, and if I'm coaching that game, what I'm hoping I get everybody out of that game because it's going to be emotional and it's going to be hard hitting. While going into the playoffs, I just hope I get everybody out of that ball game healthy.
No, you're absolutely correct, and it's notorious for the hard hitting that goes on in it, and we'll be, good Lord willing, be proud to be the broadcast host.
Last game that we'll talk about, of course, are the Neal Blue Eagles, the WS Neal Blue Eagles, with a record of 6-1 on the year, 4-1 in Class 3A Region 1. Just beat Flomaton the other night, handled the Hurricanes 44-21. We go on the road. We got to travel to Thomasville. Thomasville is 6-0. They're 5-0 in the region. Thomasville is yet to play Mobile Christian, and of course, here's the thing: Mobile Christian's a different animal. We've already talked about that. So if the Blue Eagles could by chance go over there and have a game again like they did against Flomaton this past Friday night, and could not you win against Thomasville, the Blue Eagles could very well be sitting in that second spot and get to host a first round playoff game. If they do not, more than likely, with the tiebreaker against Flomaton, Neal is looking at playing or placing number 3 in Class 3A Region 1, and if they do, that means they'll go on the road the first week. Thomasville's a good football team. They recently, this past Friday night, they beat Excel by a score of 35-7. But Rick, that's going to be an interesting ball game and another exciting game as we get to travel with the Blue Eagles to Thomasville and see this ball game between two very good football teams.
Oh, that's right. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Thomasville's undefeated. They got a good team. They had a good playoff team last year that just lost a few close games during the season to some other good teams. Coach Clint Anderson, it's his second year there. It's more than his second year there for Coach Fountain. He's been there before. And by the way, congratulations to Coach Fountain. I think he at least is now tied for the winningest coach at WSN. He may have exceeded it. I'm not quite clear on that. I couldn't find any good data on it, but doesn't matter. He's a great coach and a fine person. But I'm just looking forward to it. This is going to be a good game. I think it's very winnable for the Neal Blue Eagles. But you look at Thomasville's record. Nobody's really challenged them too much. Maybe Flomaton probably gave them their best challenge. Other than that, they kind of handle business for the most part. And so I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the ride up and it's going to be a great game. A lot of great players, great coaches, and you can't get any better in high school football in state of Alabama than that. Unless you're talking about the Battle of Murder Creek, which we shouldn't talk about because it's in 2 weeks. 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll have that game and we'll have it on the radio for you. It'll be on WBZR 105.9 FM in Atmore, and we're also looking at the possibility of maybe getting a little video and getting it out there on the thing. Of course, it won't be live streamed at the moment, I believe. I don't believe we've got a live stream option on that ball game open, but we're going to try to get maybe a way that we can get it out there and get some of the scenes from the game and some of the audio available to you as we continue to try to work that out this week. But anyway, we will definitely have it on the radio for you Friday night. So if you live within the area, Escambia County, Alabama, Monroe County, Alabama, 105.9 WBZR in Atmore, that's where the game action will be on Friday night. All right, so let's take a look at some playoff possibilities in Class 7A. Region 1, let's talk about, as we touch on all the schools from southwest Alabama now, looking at over into Mobile, Baldwin County, Washington County, Escambia County, Monroe County. We kind of expand our coverage area here. In Class 7A Region 1, your 3 top teams that have all clinched playoff spots already. Mary Montgomery sits at number 1 with an 8-0 record. They're 5-0 in the region. They defeated Baker this past Friday night 35-14. They will play one of the teams that's also vying for one of those. Well, they've actually clinched a spot. It's going to be, they play Daphne at Daphne. So that's going to be a big game. Baker is in the 2 spot right now. They have a 6-2 overall record, a 4-1 region record. They lost to Mary Montgomery this past week, 35-14. They are off this week and do not play. Daphne, as we said, they defeated Fairhope 16-13 in a very close game. Of course, Fairhope's already eliminated from the playoffs, but Daphne will be playing Mary Montgomery at home, and the Foley Lions at 4-3 and 2-2 in the region. They defeated Alma Bryant by a score of 35-22. They will be at Davidson, and Davidson is another team that's right there on the cusp. They're battling for that number 4 spot in Class 7A Region 1.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think those top 3 spots, I think Mary Montgomery's got the number 1 locked up, it's safe to say. It was a good game with Baker, but they beat them. And then it's looking like Baker for the number 2 spot, so it's really the 3rd and 4th spots. And that's going to be up to Foley and Davidson. And I think that's a pretty even matchup. I kind of give the nod to Foley on that one.
Let's look at Class 6A Region 1 now. As we look, of course, we've jokingly referred to Saraland, the Spartans, all year as the University of Saraland. They're 8-0 in the region in Class 6A Region 1. They're 8-0 on the year, 6-0 on the region. They defeated Baldwin County the other night, just ran up and down the field on them 56-7. Saraland this week, they're off, so they're giving everybody else a break by not playing anybody. So they'll be off, but you got some good games still in that region. Spanish Fort right now occupying the number 2 spot. They're at 6-2, 5-1 in the region. They defeated McGill-Tulane 41-19. They will be playing Robertsdale at home. Theodore at 5-2, 4-1 in the region. They defeated Blunt 35-0. They will be playing McGill-Tulane at home. St. Paul's at 5-2. They're 3-2 in the region. They defeated Robertsdale 54-14. They will be at Blunt, and you've still got one more team in there. McGill-Tulane is mathematically not out of the playoffs yet. Now, Baldwin, Baldwin County, Blunt, Murphy, even though it does not say they're eliminated, they're down at the bottom of the heap, and more than likely nothing they can do can get them in one of those top 4 spots. But you've got Spanish Fort, Theodore, St. Paul's, and McGill-Tulane all playing for, there's 3 spots available, and you got 4 teams battling for those 3 spots.
And the big game this weekend will be Theodore and McGill-Tulane. Those are 2 good football teams. You know, Theodore started off the year ranked in the top 10 in 6A, and so I think Theodore's probably got the edge. But this game will go a long way toward determining who the 4th spot is. St. Paul's got a great team. I think, you know, they don't have them ranked. They're just kind of in, you know, not in any particular order there. But I think the top 2 teams are Saraland and Spanish Fort, and then it's going to be between Theodore and McGill-Tulane for that 4th spot. St. Paul's is a very good football team, so that's where I say. I think the Theodore McGill-Tulane will decide that 4th spot.
Class 5A Region 1, Gulf Shores, they've locked up a playoff spot. You might as well say they've locked up the 1 seed, as Gulf Shores is 8-0 on the season. They're 6-0 in the region. They defeated Alberta by a score of 55-7. They're off this week. Viger at 5-2 on the year, 4-2 in the region. They defeated LaFleur 31-0. They will be at Alberta, so they will pick up another win there. BC Rain, surprisingly, BC Rain's been playing very good football all year long.
Yes, sir.
They're at 5-2, 3-2 in the region. BC Rain defeated UMS Wright the other night by 10, 31-21. They will be playing LaFleur. And then you've got Faith Academy at 4-3, 3-3 on the year. They did not play this past week. They take on Williamson. Now you've still got UMS Wright that's hanging out there. They lost to BC Rain, but they're still mathematically in the playoffs. They play Centronale at home, and Centronale sits right below. More than likely, I mean, you've got a lot of schools right there that are still battling each other. And the thing the thing that I've noticed the most, Rick, about this Class 5A is here's how good your schools in Class 5A Region 1 are, is the region itself has an overall record of 36-29. So there's 7 wins to the positive. So, very evenly matched region is Class 5A Region 1.
Yep, you're right. I mean, we got to come up with a name for it. We got University of Saraland. Maybe we should call Gulf Shores State or something. But they're similar to Saraland. They've dominated 5A football this year, and everybody they played up, above, and out of their classification, in and out. But that's a jumbled up mess right there from Viger down all the way down to Williamson. I mean, you can wind up with all kinds of tiebreakers because in like a round robin sort of thing, a lot of these schools have beat each other already. That Faith Academy upset Viger. Everybody thought Viger, the Wolves, were, and of course that's a big rivalry. Faith and Viger is, so nowadays there's nothing similar to Terra Miller, WS Neal really, but that's a big rivalry. But Faith upset them, and so now that just threw a monkey wrench in everything. We'll have to wait till the very end of the season probably to find out who the 3 that make the playoffs after Gulf Shores.
Well, that's why they suit up on Friday night and play the games, and there's 3 weeks left, so it'll all sort itself out within the next 3 weeks. As we move down and look at Class 4A Region 1, of course, Jackson is the class of that region. They're 6-0 on the year, 5-0 in the region. They defeated Satsuma 49-6. And that big game is the one you mentioned earlier that'll be coming up. They'll be playing St. Michael. T.R. Miller 5-2, 4-1 in the region. They defeated Escambia County High 42-7. They will be playing Satsuma. St. Michael at 5-3, 4-1 in the region. They defeated Wilcox Central by a score of 45-6. They will be at Jackson. So that's going to be a big game right there. Bayside Academy 5-2 on the year, 3-2 in the region. They defeated Orange Beach by a score of 35-14. And this game coming up is a must-win for the Escambia County High School Blue Devils, as if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, they've got to beat Bayside Friday night. So right now, if the playoffs began today in Class 4A Region 1, you're looking at Jackson, T.R. Miller, St. Michael, and Bayside, but Escambia County High School could change that with a win over Bayside on Friday night.
That's right. They'd have to beat Bayside, and even though they should, then they would still also have to beat Orange Beach, but then they would have the tiebreaker against Bayside for that 4th spot. So they can make the playoffs, and I nothing against Bayside. I got lots of friends over there, but I just, I'm rooting for the Blue Devils, and I hope they pull it off.
Class 3A Region 1, that's the one we're most familiar with. You've got 2 teams that have, in essence, clinched playoff spots. Of course, Mobile Christian at 8-0, 5-0. They defeated Cottage Hill 34-0. Mobile Christian this week will be at Flomaton to take on the Hurricanes. You got Thomasville at 6-0 on the season, 5-0 in the region. They defeated XL 35-7. Of course, the Neal Blue Eagles will be riding with them over to play Thomasville on Friday night. Those 2 teams, Mobile Christian and Thomasville, have both clinched playoff spots. You've got Neal at 6-1 on the year, 4-1 in the region. Of course, they defeated Flomaton. Will be at Thomasville. Flomaton at 4-3, 3-2 in the region. Lost to Neal. They will be taking on Mobile Christian. You've got XL. XL's just got to win and hope somebody else gets knocked off ahead of them. They're 3-4 on the year, 2-3 in the region. They lost to Thomasville 35-7. They will take on Hillcrest Evergreen. They better not look beyond Hillcrest Evergreen, because Hillcrest Evergreen just recently hung 62 on Monroe County. So that Hillcrest Evergreen game for Excel could be a really good ball game. But right now, if the playoffs began today, Mobile Christian, Thomasville, Neal would be in the 3rd spot, and Flomaton would be your number 4 spot. Those 4 teams would be playoff teams in Class 3A Region 1.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like that's the way it'll end, but WS Neal has still got to play Excel and beat them in order for that to happen. And everything else you said, I'm in complete agreement with.
Class 2A Region 1, as we look at it, you got 3 teams at the top of the heap, and they're all already clinched playoff spots. St. Luke's is at 6-1. They're 4-0. They did not play this past week. Now, this is going to be a good game to decide who is the number 1 seed in Class 2A Region 1, as St. Luke's will be taking on Clark County at Clark County. So Clark County is at 3-4, but they've played an interesting schedule, kind of top heavy. Yeah, their schedule is top heavy, but they're 3-0 in the region. So you've got a 4-0 St. Luke's, a 3-0 Clark County. Those 2 teams play each other this Friday night. That game will be at Clark County and Grove Hill. Then you've got Chickasaw at 4-4 on the year, 3-2 in the region. They defeated Fruitdale by a score of 44-20. They will play Washington County this week. Then you've got Washington County that right now is listed as the number 4 seed because they're 3-4, 1-2 in the region. They defeated Francis Marion by a score of 20-16. They will be at Chickasaw this week, so that's going to sort things out. J.U. Blackshear gets to be idled this week. They're not going to play after losing to Clark County 27-0, which is really good for J.U. Blackshear, because J.U. Blackshear, after they have their off week, they have to play Washington County, which will more than likely decide that 4th place spot in Class 2A Region 1.
Yeah, and I think Blackshear's got a good shot of getting in. But like you just, enumerated here, they all are playing each other. St. Luke's is in. I mean, and Clark County's in, Chickasaw's in. But that 4th spot,
it's up for grabs.
It will depend, like you said. Yep, it's up for grabs. Sure.
And it's all gonna fall down. I mean, I really don't even think it matters, because Chickasaw has beaten J.U. Blackshear already. The game that matters for J.U. Blackshear right now in Class 2A Region 1 is that game they've got coming up, not this week but next week, Washington County. That game is going to be, well, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure. I think that it may be at Washington County. I'm thinking that it may be across the river.
Yeah, that's the key to that one is where it's going to be played. I think they're two very well matched teams, and it'll just kind of depend. But I mean, I think Blackshear's played good football, and it's just let me see, where's that game going to be played at? It's going to be at Blackshear.
Okay, so it will be in Uri.
Yeah, so I mean, so they got a shot. I mean, Washington County's pretty good, but I mean, I think they're in the right spots in the rankings and in the standings in their division and region there. So we'll just have to wait and see, but we'll be rooting for them.
So now let's move down to Class 1A, Region 1, Milry, the Wildcats. Of course, they play over in Milry on Wildcat Hill. They have clinched a playoff spot. They're 7-1. They're 4-0 in their region. They defeated J.F. Shields by a score of 67-0. They will be at McIntosh and pick up another win there. The Leroy Bears, they are 6-0, 4-0 in the region as well. They defeated Southern Choctaw by a score of 41-8. They will play Fruitdale at home. They'll pick up another win there. Choctaw County at 3-3, 3-2 in the region. They defeated McIntosh 30-18. They do not play this week. McIntosh, of course, is right now the 4th place team in the region, as they're listed there at 2-6, 2-3 in the region. They lost to Choctaw County 30-18. They will next play, of course, as we mentioned, they will play Milry. Now, what's going to be interesting about this thing is you've got 3 teams that have all clinched playoff spots. Now, I believe it's the next to the last. It's not this week, but next Friday night, the game of all games for this Class 1A Region 1 is going to be between the two teams that are undefeated sitting at the top of Class 1A Region 1. Milry and Leroy have to play each other before the season's over with, and that's going to be a barn burner.
Yep, it sure will. That's they're big-time rivals. So, I mean, I know Leroy's big rivals across the river at Jackson, but that's out of classification by 3 levels. But they're in classification rival. Make no mistake, is Milry. So that's going to be a heck of a football game.
So as we continue and get ready to wrap things up here, we want to just kind of run over what we know about the AISA and let you know what we know about games there. Of course, in Class 3A in the AISA, Rick, there's 8 schools listed: Glenwood, Lee Scott, Fort Dale, Autauga Academy, Monroe Academy. And as we continue down the list, let me flip my page here so I can look at that. Also, Bessemer Academy, Morgan Academy, and Valiant Cross. All those are your 3A teams in the AISA. All 8 of those teams will be playoff teams. And what they do is they seed them. They seed them out of those 8, and then you end up having 3 rounds of the playoffs because all the championship games for AISA will be played in the same day. So those 8 schools will make the playoffs, and so congratulations to all of them. It'll just be decided against who they play as far as the way the seeding falls in that area. Our school that we follow most closely in the AISA here locally, of course, is the Escambia Academy Cougars. Escambia Academy looks like that they're going to be the number 4 seed in Class 2A Region 2. They have a record right now of 3-5. They're 1-3 in the region. They last lost to Patrician Academy 42-14. But if the playoffs started this week, Escambia Academy at the 4 seed in Class 2A Region 2, a place that we're familiar with, they would travel north and end up going to Chambers Academy and playing up there. Chambers Academy is the number 1 seed in AISA 2A Region 1. So that would be the Cougars' opponent for the playoffs if the playoffs started today.
Right. Yeah. Glad we're not making that trip. And best of luck. EA has shown improvement throughout the year, and I just said earlier that's what you have to do. And so I hope those boys hold their heads up, and young men and the coaches too, because I was a little critical of their defensive efforts dating back to last year when we covered them, and earlier this year, and I was just calling it like I saw it. But I mean, they have improved defensively throughout the year and improved as a football team. And so best of luck to the Cougars.
And looking at Class A, 1A AISA, they have 2 regions, of course, and Region 1 is led, of course, by Lowndes Academy. They're 8-0, 3-0 in the region. They last defeated Lakeside. But looking locally for teams that we cover here close, Jackson Academy is the class of Class 1A Region 2 in the AISA. They have an 8-1 record. They are 3-0. They lost to Banks Academy, which is a 3A school, and so that's their only loss of the year. Wilcox Academy from up in Camden, they're the 2nd place team in that region. South Choctaw Academy from over at Toxie, they're the 3rd place team, and Snook Christian over in Baldwin County. It's going to be a battle for that 4th spot. Somebody needs to notch a win between Snook Christian and Sparta Academy, because in that region, both of those schools have no wins in the region, and they're both, one's 0-7, the other one's 0-8. But I'm thinking that the 2 of those have to play each other along the way, so the winner of that game is going to end up being the 4th place team, 4th seed in Class A Region 2 of the AISA.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100% on that one, and good luck to them both.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for us tonight. We've covered everything that we set out to cover, and we've kept you here with us long enough. I want to remind you, of course, that we do this each and every week, that we cover high school football in Southwest Alabama, concentrating primarily on teams from Monroe County, Alabama, Escambia County, Alabama, and we've also expanded things out to cover Mobile, Washington, Baldwin County, to include those other two counties, kind of touching on games. And, Rick, as we get closer, we're getting closer. You got about 3 weeks left that teams are going to be playing. When we get into playoff time, we're going to be heavy into playoff football, and so we'll be telling you these teams, where they're going to be playing and where you can go to see them, and different things like that. As these regular seasons draw now to an end, it's fixing to be playoff football time, and that'll be a lot of fun as we get into playoff football here at the end of the year for the Alabama High School Athletic Association and the AISA.
That's right. I'm looking forward to it, and I know you are too. And appreciate being on with you tonight, Rick. Good Lord bless everybody listening richly and abundantly, and keep everyone safe.
Well, thank you so much, Rick, for being here, and we'll talk to you during the week. And thank you so much for tuning in to the SportzMoose Media Podcast, available wherever you happen to get your podcast. You can find us. Give us a listen, like it, share it with your friends, and we're glad that you listened.